Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Continue to help the station grow. As many of you know that follow this station, we are primarily a Minnesota Vikings station. We'll touch on the Timberwolves, and then every now and then we'll touch on some teams in Ohio because I'm from Ohio, grew up in Warrensville Heights, suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, so I am a staunch Cleveland Browns fan, Cleveland Guardians fan, also an Ohio State Buckeye fan. And with the debacle that was the Ohio State Buckeyes today, a lot of my fans out there and a lot of the people that wanted me to talk about the game post-game, I'm going to oblige and give you my thoughts about the post-game. And I'm going to try to stay as calm as I possibly can with the Ohio State Buckeyes and Ryan Day. Unfortunately, they lost the game today to Michigan. Michigan, who came into the game 6-5, unranked. The Ohio State Buckeyes came into the game ranked, second in the country, vying for a spot to play in the Big Ten title game, which they have been absent from the last few years under the regime of Ryan Day. And again, I'm gonna try to stay calm. But we're about to speak on this. I'm not gonna jump on whether or not Ryan Day should be fired. I know there's going to be a lot of podcasts talking about that, whether or not he should be fired. Really, it kind of depends on what you want, Ohio State fans. It really depends on what you want in terms of a head coach. If you want somebody that's going to be pretty good during the regular season, not lose to any Big Ten teams that basically they should lose to, and someone that's not going to get you to the national championship game and win a national championship, and someone that has a problem with beating Michigan, then that's your guy, Ryan Day. It just kind of depends on what you want. The guy wins. He wins games, but he has trouble in big games. And for those of you that are Ryan Day apologists, I want to hear from you today. Because there's been plenty of times where I have spoken out. Being a college head coach myself, I always try to see things 2 steps ahead, regardless of whether the team is winning or losing games, whether they're on a winning streak or not. And there are times where I get a lot of critique from people out there because they say, well, the Ohio State Buckeyes are winning games. And I told you like 6 weeks ago, I told you there was something missing from this team. They were winning games. I couldn't explain it. I just know when I gave it the optics text, things didn't just look right with me. And so when games of this caliber come to fruition, it shows up every single time. And I'm going to tell you from my taste, and again, I'm not saying Ryan Day should be fired. I'm just telling you from my standpoint, Ryan Day, it's time to go. My standard with Ohio State football is I want to be in the national championship conversation. I want to have a chance to win a national championship. I want to play well in big games, and I want to beat Michigan. And under Ryan Day, we do not have that. And all you apologists out there, put it in the comments. Why should we be optimistic about Ryan Day? I am so sick and tired of pregame antics. It's all you see. Coach the football game. All of the antics that we see before the game, coach the football game, prepare your guys instead of all the theatrics. You've had the best roster NIL money can buy. Your boy, Urban Meyer, came out and said to start the season that on paper, this is probably the best Ohio State roster in the history of Ohio State's football program. And again, with NIL money and backers supporting you, the Ohio State Buckeyes and Ryan Day still come up short once again. And I know there's still going to be apologists out there for Ryan Day. There always is. You went out and got Will Hire. You chose Will Howard over Cam Ward. That was your choice. And that's fine. But then you go out and get Quinshon Judkins along with Travion Henderson. Combined, they ran for 68 freaking yards. Two studs ran for 68 yards. And then you have Carnell Tate, Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate, 6 for 58. Emeka Egbuka, 4 for 51. Jeremiah Smith, 5 for 35. And this high-powered offense, along with the quarterback that you went out and chose, Will Howard, who was 19 for 33, 175 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. You went out and you got that guy. You put this roster together with the money that you had, and it came up short. Your big play guys didn't show up today. And I'm not throwing Jeremiah Smith under the bus because I know it's scheme Jeremiah. I know it's head coaching Jeremiah. I know it is. You got all these studs at wide receiver, and none of them can make big plays when it counts because it's all scheme and it's all coaching. You bring in the guru, the genius, Chip Kelly, and he would rather throw side to side instead of throwing downfield and using his weapons. The most abysmal lack of talent, lack of talent that I have ever seen. And I don't want to hear over the next week or so about speculation about whether or not the Buckeyes are going to get in the play. Do you want to see the Buckeyes in the playoffs? Do you? I don't want to see the Buckeyes in the playoffs. I mean, this is absolutely deplorable. This is, and again, then you want to fight after the game? You should have used all that aggression in the 60 minutes where you were in between the lines. You had all the time in the world to exercise all your aggression. Ohio State Buckeyes, Ryan Day's coaching staff, you had all of the time in the world to be able to do that. Dude, I'm telling you right now, this is not an indictment on Ryan Day. Whether or not Ryan Day is a good coach or not, Ryan Day is a good coach. Maybe he's just not a good coach for the Buckeyes. Ryan Day is a good coach. Maybe he's not a championship coach. See, there are levels to this. There are levels when you look at guys out there that have won national championships. Nick Saban and the boys that have won multiple national championships. There are levels to this. Just because Ryan Day can't seem to get it done against top 5 teams and Michigan doesn't necessarily mean he's not a good coach, but there are levels to this. And he is showing what level he is at. And if that's the standard that Ohio State fans want, and if that's the standard that the administration at Ohio State wants, then that's fine. I'll just be content to sit back and understand that the fans and the administration of Ohio State just want to win regular season games, come up short against Michigan, and never play in the conference championship game. If that's going to be the standard. Because that's what Ryan Day is going to give you. I told you this a few weeks ago when Ohio State was winning. I said, man, giving this thing the eye test, there is something missing from the Ohio State Buckeyes. And as you watch the game play out today, this high-powered offense, that the best high-powered offense that NIL money can buy, they were only able to muster 10 points against a 6-5 Michigan football team. With the money and the conference on the line and a chance to go to the college football playoff. That, to me, says all I need to know about the coaching staff at Ohio State and the head coach, Ryan Day. It gives me all the information that I need to know. I am curious if there is anybody out there that thinks differently than me. Is there anybody out there that's still on board with Ryan Day going forward with this football team? Put it in the comments, man. Enlighten me. Enlighten me on why we should be keeping Ryan Day around, other than you wanting to be a pretty good football program. Because if you're talking about championships, conference championships, and going to the national championship, man, you can leave me with that. Because Ryan Day is not the guy that's going to do that. And if Ryan Day has any pushback on that, what part of your resume do you have other than winning with Urban Meyer's players early in your tenure? What other things on your resume gives you any sort of proof or evidence that you're going to be able to do anything with the Ohio State Buckeyes, my friend? You had the best roster in the conference. You had one of the best rosters in the nation, if not the best roster in the nation, and your key additions didn't have big gains, not because of any fault of their own, but you guys couldn't even scheme them in the game. You couldn't even scheme them into the game. Quinshon Judkins, 12 for 46 yards. Travion Henderson, 10 for 21, both with no touchdowns. Average yards per carry, Judkins 3.8. Average yards a carry, Trayvon Henderson for 2 yards. Man, that's an indictment on coaching. I don't care what you say. All you apologists out there for Ryan Day can miss me on that. That is football malpractice is what that is. All these weapons, and you come up short against a 6-5 Michigan teams. Oh, man. Ohio fans, man, they have it hard. Between the Cleveland Browns and Ohio State Buckeyes under the regime of Ryan Day, I feel sorry for the Ohio fans because you got it hard. If it's on me, Ryan Day, it is time. I was one of the ones that said, hey, give him one more year last year. Give him one more year. Like, you got to give him a chance to cut his teeth a little bit, bring in the coaching staff. You saw he brought in Chip Kelly. You saw the talent that he brought in on the roster. But yet again, he comes up short, and he wasn't able to do it. It is time to go. If you want to win I don't want to hear anything about Jim Tressel. Jim Tressel won a national championship. I know there were critics of Jim Tressel, and I know how Jim Tressel went out. Jim Tressel won a national championship with the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I don't want to hear about Urban Meyer and what type of coach he was and the pros. I want to talk to you about the type of coach he was with the Ohio State Buckeyes. He won a national championship. A proven winner, Urban Meyer was. And I'm telling you right now, if you, as an Ohio State fan, want to get back to that, you got to get rid of Ryan Day. The team is soft. The team is finesse. The team comes up short in big games. The resume proves it. You've got to get a staunch football guy in here that doesn't care about cuteness, that doesn't care about blowing the damn whistle before the start of the game and pregame warm-up to warm up his teams. All of that silly stuff instead of focusing on football. You've got to get a football guy in here. There are a variety of guys out there that will come into Ohio State and change the toughness automatically. And I'm telling you right now that if you stay with Ryan Day, you're going to get great regular seasons from Ryan Day. He will beat up on the Minnesotas. He will beat up on the Iowas. He will beat up on the Penn States. He will beat up on the Illinois. He will beat up on the Wisconsin Badgers. He will beat up on all those guys. But when it comes to the big games, and stepping his ass out into the national landscape of things, you can well bet that when he faces Michigan or anybody in the national conversation about winning games, he's going to come up short. You can book that. And you know, when I say you can book it, I'm rarely ever wrong. The Ohio State administration, they've got to get out of their emotions because Ryan Day's a good guy. And they can't look at his overall winning percentage. This is not what Ohio State has ever held their standard on. It is always about that national landscape and succeeding at that level. And Ryan Day is not that guy. He's not that guy. And again, if that's what you want the program to be, man, I'm down. I'll sit back and I'll watch it, but I won't have any expectations, and I sure as hell won't talk championships and Big Ten championships as long as Ryan Day is the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ryan Day apologist, put it in the comments. What is on his resume that gives you any optimism that he is ever going to do anything at Ohio State, especially when he handpicked the roster with NIL money this year? And I think all the national pundits were in agreement that Ohio State had one of the best rosters in the land. And Michigan, who has been struggling with everybody, new quarterback, 6-5, Jim Harbaugh, and now here's the cherry on top of the sundae. You can't say they cheated this game. Last year, you could say they were stealing signs, they were cheating. What's the excuse this year? Did they steal signs in today's game, or did they just whoop your ass, Ohio State? Like, what's the excuse this year? What's it going to be? You had guys coming back this year just to beat Michigan and try to win a national championship game instead of going to the pros. That's been a waste of time. And again, I know how we are as Ohio State fans because I've been guilty of this as well. For the next week, we're going to be manipulating and trying to see how we can get into, the college football playoffs, how we can back our asses in to the college football playoffs. And then if we're not picked, then we're mistreated in some way. There's this scandal out there, against Ohio State football when we don't get picked for the team of 12 because of some paranoia out there that everybody's against us, when all we had to do was win this game and we're in. We won't look at that. We won't self-reflect on that. But that's on Ryan Day and his coaching staff. You had a depleted Michigan team who, by the way, was missing their best defensive player, cornerback, and then their best offensive player in terms of their tie-in, and you still couldn't get it done. But yet, if we're not picked as a team of 12, I guarantee you as Ohio State fans, what we are going to do is we are going to say that the national media is against us and the committee is against us and we should have been in over this team. No, we should have won this game. We should have won this game today. 6-5 Michigan team, we should have won this game. That's where your attention and the eye test should be focused on, instead of some delusional paranoia that there's a bunch of people that are against your Ohio State Buckeyes when it comes to making the college football playoff. Like, that should have been locked up today. With the amount of talent that Ohio State has, this is egregious. There is no excuse for this one. And if I'm a reporter, because Ryan Day is going to be at a bad mood, he's going to be somber, and then see what happens and stuff like this, just like you saw after the game, you're going to have a lot of people with some aggression at the wrong people. Like, you had 60 minutes to be aggressive against Michigan and win that football game. So I know Ryan Day is probably going to have his moments where he chirps back at a couple of reporters, but I'm telling you right now, if I'm a reporter, I'm chirping right back. Don't be upset at me and mad at me and showing aggression at me because you don't like the question that I asked. You should have had your team and your ass ready for those 60 minutes against Michigan. That's on the real. So if you want to push back on me, I got something for you. If I'm a reporter in that press conference, because I know how chirpy these guys like to get. Like it's the reporter's fault that they lost the game. Man, handle your business. You had a chance a week to get your team prepared for this game, and you got out-coached by a guy who's just cutting his teeth with less talent at your home stadium. 112,000 plus, you failed again to beat Michigan. So don't come chirping at reporters, showing aggression at reporters. You should have had aggression against the Michigan Wolverines. Man, this is unconventional playbook. We're not playing around here. We're not going to cookie cut it here. This is unconventional playbook. The Ohio State Buckeyes have no excuses. And any aggression that they show after the game is a bunch of false enthusiasm. Any aggression you show after the game is a bunch of false enthusiasm. You had a chance for 60 minutes to show your worth. And now you're going to be cutting your eyes and looking at all the talk shows and try to lobby for your asses to get into the college football playoffs back in. We got to back in some way when you could have won that game today. You should have won that game today. It's egregious. It's an egregious loss. In my opinion, it's time to move on from Ryan Day and get a coach up in here that can win these games. Hell, I wouldn't mind having Urban Meyer back. You saw Swamp Kings. You saw the environment that Urban Meyer brings to the table. You saw what he did at Ohio State. There was no finesse in that. Yeah, they lost a couple of regular season games, but man, in those important games, did Urban Meyer bring it? First string, second string, third string quarterback. It didn't matter. Urban Meyer brought it. Jim Tressel brought it. It's time to go, man. It's time to go. It's time to go. For the past couple years, I've been hearing from a lot of people, and again, man, I wasn't necessarily, 100% on board with Ryan Day, but, I'm not the type of guy to pull the trigger quick. I think you got to give guys all their opportunity to build their coaching staff, especially when you're coming from a place of being under the umbrella of a successful coach before you. You got to bring your recruits in. Obviously, Urban Meyer was a little bit more run-heavy. Ryan Day was a little bit more pass-happy, a little bit more finesse. I've always say that. As soon as Urban Meyer left, the Ohio State Buckeyes became a finesse football team. It's like comparing a break dancer to a ballerina. Urban Meyer's team was break dancers. Urban, you're on the ground, twisting, turning. Nothing's wrong with either one. But under Ryan Day, our offense has been ballerinas. And Chip Kelly was supposed to come in and solve the problems and be this phenomenal play caller. And my critique is, look, I'm not even trying to say that I know as much as Ryan Kelly about football offense and play calling, but man, the eye test said you love going side to side. You love screen plays and throwing the ball side to side. You didn't throw enough downfield, and it came to play today. This one stings. And I can't wait to hear the apologies of Ryan Day once again coming to his defense. If I was in charge of Ohio State and making the determination on whether or not Ryan Day comes back to the Ohio State Buckeyes, he's out of here. Time's up. It's time to go, man. It's time to go. It's time to go. If you can't win with this roster and I'm not even saying win a national championship, but if you can't get to the national championship, at least the Final Four, and then play Michigan and beat Michigan, a depleted Michigan team with graduates, head coaches moving to the pros, a transition in coaching staff, an inexperienced head coach, and then on game day, you're missing arguably your best offensive player and arguably your best defensive player, and you can't get it done. You only rally enough to score 10 points? 10 points, really, Ryan Day? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, man. And I'm not afraid to speak on it. It is time, y'all. It is time. It's time for Ryan Day to go. We appreciate all your work. We appreciate all the regular season wins. We appreciate being 47-1 in the Big Ten outside of Michigan. We appreciate that. Because, y'all, listen, man, it could be worse. It could be worse. It just all depends on what your standards are for Ohio State. And I know what my standards are for Ohio State, and what he has put on his resume for the past couple of years. That's not my standard for Ohio State. There's levels to this. I want a little bit more. You may disagree with me. You may not. There may be some of you that want to give Ryan Day a 3-year contract extension, or maybe want him to get another chance, or maybe say, hey, this is not Ryan Day's fault. You want to blame it on Will Howard and the offensive line and all that other junk. Well, I'm telling you right now, Ryan Day has had a year to get this team ready for Michigan with the best roster on the planet in terms of college football. You had a week to get your team amped up. And I tell you, man, I saw it in the Oregon game, and people jumped all over me for this, man. I saw it in the Oregon game where I was like, man, Oregon, everybody talked about the environment. That was an incredible environment that Ohio State had to play in Oregon. Man, Oregon just looked like they wanted it more. There was just a level of aggression that I didn't see from Ohio State. And it all gets clouded by the last play when Will Howard slid and ran out of time, and then a lot of things gets lost in the smoke of it being a close game. Man, I just give it the eye test. I don't care about the stats. I don't care about the score. Oregon looked more aggressive. Oregon looked more ready. I saw it in various games throughout the rest of the regular season. Ohio State was just talented enough to win those games. And here it is again. Michigan. It just looked like Michigan was a little bit more prepared, and they wanted it more. That's what my eye test gave me. That's what my eye test gave me. Man, it's just deplorable. I feel bad for Ohio State fans because you were let down again. You were let down again by Ohio State, and now we got to do what we do and wait and see who loses, who wins, and back our way into the college football playoffs if possible. And if they're going to play like this, if Ryan Day can't get the boys ready, if that coaching staff can't get the boys ready, man, I don't even want to go to the playoffs. I'm just telling you, that may sound harsh, and I know anything can happen in the playoffs. When you say that, you're basically saying you don't want to win a national championship this year. Man, I am just so content with knowing that even if we get into the playoff this year, and this is not me being emotional, I just ask those of you who disagree with me, tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why. Like, I just don't feel if we get in that we can win the games to get us to the national championship. It's going to be the same old stuff. Ryan Day has proven that he can't get these guys ready for big games. If you disagree with me, put it in the comments. Don't sit there mumbling to yourself. Put it in the comments. Unbelievable, man. Hit that like and subscribe button, man. I know you're tired. I know you probably don't want to hear it, but I had to give it to you. This is Unconventional Playbook. I have to give it to you. I have to give it to you because Ryan Day and the fellas let a big portion of the Ohio State Buckeyes down. And listen, man, I don't want to hear anything about any Kyle McCord and Will Howard compared. Will Howard's a better quarterback than Kyle McCord. But you know what? Here's where I'm going to agree with you because I know what some of you are going to say. He didn't show up the way he should have shown up today. So does it matter whether or not he's better than Kyle McCord or not? This was the quarterback that Ryan Day and the boys chose to get us over the hump. And again, they come up short. Unbelievable. I could not have imagined this in a million years, but people wanted me to speak on it. You know, we don't cover a lot of Ohio State Buckeyes stuff on this channel. And I know that a lot of UP Nation knows that I'm from Ohio. And so they wanted me to speak on the game. So I said, okay, I'll speak on the game, win or lose. So I had to jump on here today, man. I had to jump on here today and just let you know my thoughts about Ryan Day and the crew. Ryan Day and the crew should be gone. It's time. There's always a time. I thank him for all of his work and everything that he's done for the Ohio State football program. But it is time to start getting back to the standard, to stop blowing your whistle in pregame, bobbing your head, to stop swaying your arms on kickoffs. Get back to playing football. Get back to playing football. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you when we see you. Latrey, take us home, man.
I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm a lamb? Am I losing my mind? Am I wasting my time? Do I know who I am?